Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. We are pleased to be joined by Pete Weber once again. Pete, we had you right after the league shutdown, so we're recycling guests, and we thought of you first.
Well, thank you very much. Nice to be at the top of that list. I can talk about a lot of when nothing is going on.
Well, we'll start with our pre-show with Major League Baseball. Russ, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm at a real crossroads with Major League Baseball. I haven't written an article yet because I'm really fuming at the owners, and I don't know if anybody could change my mind, and at the commissioner. So what I find kind of humorous now is baseball was sort of humming along. I was in spring training, then the whole world shut down, right? So we come home, and for years before this, we were told, hey, there's great labor peace. They just signed a 10-year agreement. Everything's great and hunky-dory. Well, then all of a sudden it wasn't. So then the owners and the players came out with an agreement. They hammered out an agreement. And I do only think the reason they hammered out an early agreement was because the owners didn't understand the gravity of the situation. So they hammered out an agreement. Okay, that's fine. Then another month rolls by. Well, that agreement's no good anymore. So now let's start to negotiate again. And the last negotiation really made me laugh because for years, the players had been asking the owners, let's be 50-50 partners. And the owners were always like, no way, it's never happening. Now they said, hey, let's be 50-50 partners in revenue. There is no revenue.
Well, no, and Pete, what I said to Russ before was that, no, there's no 50-50 split of revenue, but now since they're going to have losses because there are no fans in the stands, they want a 50-50 split of losses is basically what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Okay, let's have a cash call, guys. Come to the table, or let's make those automatic deposits if we can. Yeah, and it's interesting that the owners then wanted things, and that was what the players were totally resisting back in '94.
Right. And now they pretty much ruined the minor leagues, but I think they ruined them to the point where they got their way in what teams they wanted to lop off. But what I think now is what's going to happen is there are going to be teams that can't afford to operate next year, but they didn't plan on, and that's going to further gouge into it. They're going to have a 10-round draft, which basically only pays the draftee $100,000 this year. That's it. Then they have to come back next year and get the rest of their money. And if you're drafted after the 4th round, you get $20,000. I got to tell you something. They're making the NHL look great here because the NHL pays a lot better than that.
They're making the NHL look like the AHL with Eddie Shore.
Yes.
What does Russ? I'm sorry I joined in. Hi, Pete. Sorry about.
How you doing?
What league are paying these draftees?
Major League Baseball.
Okay, so do the NHL players get paid when they get drafted?
Well, they don't get paid the minute they get drafted, but they're going to. If you jump to the league right away, you'll get your ELC.
Right.
And that's better now than what most guys are going to get from Major League Baseball. So it's not going to be for everybody, obviously.
And NHL players,
I didn't know that.
NHL players on their entry level deal get their signing bonus.
They do,
but they don't start to earn money until they either play in the American Hockey League or in the NHL. No, the thing, Pete, I've never seen a league more heavy-handed in my life than Major League Baseball over the weekend because we saw, I think it was Jeff Passan and John Heyman both came out with the same thing, saying that over 5,000 people had been tested for the antibodies test, and that only 0.7% had tested positive. Almost in the same time frame, they came out and said, okay, well, the players are not going along with not the prorated thing because that's already been decided, but now to share in the losses because there are going to be no fans in the crowd. So it's almost like Major League owners and Rob Manfred are putting like the twist on the players and say, okay, if we miss, it's not our fault. It's the greedy players' fault.
Yeah. So, and then owners have probably been tuning in. They don't sleep anyway, so they watch Korean baseball and can see how the turnouts are going there. Where interesting, they have cheerleaders when they have no crowd to lead in cheers.
Right. I will say this. The other thing that really is getting me with this whole thing is, so if we get back to them, whether they're going to have the season or not, again, Randy Levine said the other day, Pete, that 70% of their revenue is at the gate. So Nobody realized that. We all thought, man, now with corporate sponsorship and everything else, baseball is much richer than that. They're not. So now it almost seems like owners don't want this 82 game schedule, because if they can't pay for if they can't get their 162 in the playoffs, they don't want to pay for 80. And that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah. And then the other thing, Rusty, you had mentioned earlier about slicing the number of minor league teams MLB wishes to get rid of. A lot of that is coming out of a certain AAA owner who also happens to own Baseball America. And the MILB group has not yet made such an agreement.
Yeah. But they're not going to, I mean, all they did was, I remember at the beginning of the season, they put out a statement saying that they're talking about it or whatever, but it's going to get steamrolled. Like, what choice do they have?
Correct.
And under the radar, as opposed to everything.
I'm sorry, one more thing, Mike, about the testing. These are millionaires that were told not to leave their houses, and a lot of people that are well paid by the sport. It's not covering their kids and their family who are probably going out and getting stuff. So those people are going to come back low in testing because they don't have to leave. They're not financially obligated to leave. They don't have to go out because they need this food. They could spend whatever top dollar to get everything brought to them. Like, it's unrealistic.
Yeah, and under the radar, the thing that is could be a paradigm shift when it comes to baseball is the DH, which they're talking about implementing for this 2020 season. It's we're going to have the new divisions, so there's going to be a lot of interleague play, a lot more than before. So we have to have a universal DH. Yeah, that's what you want anyway, Rob. We know that. So now you're pushing it through in this situation, and you'll never get rid of it.
Right, you won't get rid of it. And this is one way for them to get rid of an unwieldy number of pitchers on a roster.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's a really good point.
That's a really good point. I still don't think they're going to have a season. I think that they're the one sport that is doomed.
Well, I think Shaq will make that announcement shortly.
Yeah.
Well, I told Russ, I said,
because they anyway.
Russ said that before, and I said, well, the Major League Baseball Players Association in recent history has done nothing but capitulate. And what they will look at before they shut things down is, do I want to get 30% of my salary or no percent of my salary? Because they have a long-term agreement, and if they don't play, they get nothing. So
they should talk to some NHL players like Joe Thornton about skipping NHL seasons and how much fun that is.
Yeah. So, and this is all going to come down on the shoulders of former Niagara Falls Rapids first baseman Tony Clark, head of the MLBPA.
Now, how much faith do you have in him, Pete? I don't have a lot.
I think he's a very intelligent man.
Guy.
Yeah, I think he's intelligent too, but I don't know who's pushing his buttons behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's the issue.
It's a big question.
Now, Russ, did you want to? We'll save the Last Dance stuff till tomorrow. But the death of
the death of Stiller, that's a big one, because growing up in New York and having parents that are in their 80s, I knew about Stilla and Mira for like my whole life, right? And Jerry Stiller, I don't want to say disappeared, but he kind of became like a bit actor for a little while, then reappeared. But he was on everything. Like, he was always funny. He could do anything. Then he was on Seinfeld. Then King of Queens just basically copied his character from Seinfeld. But he's done so many things. This guy was so good at everything he did, so believable. I put up a piece of Marble Rye today that I had in the fridge for breakfast, because like that was a funny episode. Like, he just
nice.
We saw some outtakes on Twitter that were really good. Like, Ben Stiller's always talked about him in glowing terms, and Ben Stiller seems like a good guy. So I never never believed otherwise. But just talent-wise, they don't make guys like that anymore.
No, he was a guy that we go and sorry, youngsters, going back to the era of comedy albums. Yep. He was absolutely huge on those.
I didn't have his. You know what I had? I had Bill Cosby, which I probably shamefully admit now. Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart was probably, of all of them, the most underrated good one of all of them.
The Uncle Freddie Show.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Bill Cosby's had a horrible existence, but he's definitely one of kids who are very, very funny.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no getting around that, right?
And the weird thing about this, Pete, is that last night We were getting together for Mother's Day dinner, my brother and my mom and myself, and we had the TV on in the background, and there was an old episode of Law and Order on, and Jerry Stiller comes in as the attorney into the interrogation room wearing a suit and a bow tie, and I didn't remember him ever on Law and Order, and I'm like, gee, Jerry Stiller, I wonder how old he is. And I look up on Wikipedia that he's 92 years old, and then he dies the next day. It's like the weirdest thing in the world. It's like,
first thing I saw on Twitter when I got up very early this morning. Yeah.
No, really crazy.
All right, let's get started.
Let's get started here. We'll do our introductions, and we will introduce the great Pete. And the date is the
11th of May.
The day after Bobby Orr Day.
Does it matter? I mean, really, does it matter what the date is? I mean, do I have to keep doing this? I mean,
apparently it doesn't matter to Mother Nature because
are we not living in
raining in Buffalo?
I know.
I mean, it mattered to the people who made calendars, and they still make them. So
I know Mike's not a fan of Stephen Colbert.
So for those Gregorians,
yeah, but I am a fan. I am a fan of Stephen Colbert, and his the other day he's like happy, Cinco de Mayo, which I'm thankful for because I actually know it's the 6th of May now, or the 5th of May because of it. Sorry, I got that wrong too. But yeah, there you go. Here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It is Monday, May 11th, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello, and Mother Nature, never mind.
I'm Rick Cohen, and breaking news, they just canceled the World Baseball Classic for 2021.
Oh, darn.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And we are joined today by the great, and he's right down there. The great Pete. It's hard to do reverse. The great Pete Weber. Hey, Pete, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. And it's kind of difficult here because we only have 4 of us. Otherwise, we could probably try to do a Hollywood Squares version.
We definitely could. And what's Nashville like in this? This has to be nuts for Nashville.
Well, and today is the first day they've sort of opened up restaurants downtown today. So I can't wait to hear what the reports are on that. I am not going to venture down to try to investigate, but we've had continually upticks in the reports of cases and so on. So I'm skeptical.
Oh, I would be skeptical too.
That's very logical to be skeptical. I agree. Well, I'm glad that you're okay and family's okay. Family's okay down there, Pete?
Family's is absolutely fine. And I even check in on Brent Peterson and Terry Crisp as we socially distance. And since the game we're in, it's perfect. Just carry a hockey stick, and that's the distance.
Exactly. We have it all down. I know. I love it. There's a big billboard right near the Wells Fargo Center right now when you're driving down Interstate 95 with 2 hockey players holding a stick between them and saying, keep your distance from the Flyers or whatever. Got the advertisement going there.
Yeah, and don't worry. You can come to New York and be socially distant until 2055 because by that time Andrew Cuomo will finally open up the state.
Yeah, no. For an introvert like me, this is it's a bizarre. This all feels very bizarre. It's like everybody's coming into my world of not seeing that many people and hanging around. I'm actually it's just very strange. We're joking. I was joking around with my son. I feel like I've been socially distanced for a long time because of the kind of job I have and just the way we work. But well, crazy. But let me get into something because I was talking this morning about the NHL draft to people. And before we'll get the AHL news, which is enormous. But I wanted to touch on this first because it's kind of fresh. I'm hearing that by May 15th we're going to hear something about this, and that would be the end of this week, obviously. And I'm hearing that it really sounds in all likelihood that there's going to be a June draft. That's going to that's what's going to happen. It's definitely not what the GMs and team people want because they're creatures of habit, and obviously it's and it's not necessarily. I mean, I believe that they should just open up trading, and this is something I want to talk to Pete about a little bit. My theory is that they should just allow trading and allow that trading to just take place immediately and go into the season and have just basically an extended trade deadline. Because of a lot of reasons, but the interesting thing here is I talked to somebody about why they're doing it in June, and this person gave me a slightly different angle on it, saying that listen, if we start playing in July, and we do, even if we did the whole thing, or we did the regular season and the playoffs or what have you, in some sort of way, we'd still be able to shorten it. And so maybe even if we do July, August, September, figure 3 months, maybe end of September, we crown a champion, right? And he said, the thinking out there is, okay, we want to start the next season December or January because that's probably December, because that's when we'll be able to get fans back. The next season starting all depends on when you can get fans in the seats. But he says, but that, when you think about it, October is 5 months away. So he says, the reality is that you kind of forget that sometimes. If you look at it like that, he said, we could, right now places are already opening up, as we already discussed a little bit, maybe prematurely, and hopefully that doesn't kill us at the end of the time. But places are already opening up, but say places, maybe even if they shut down again because of craziness, we still have 5 months to get to. So the idea is, if the NHL was to do this and they hand out the Stanley Cup at the end of September, they would not want to wait till December if they didn't have to. The idea is that if we can get this, if things are better, why would we wait till the end? Why would we wait till December? And in that thinking, why not do the draft now? Because the draft is going to be something that's going to take up people's energies and times. If they can have a shorter turnaround between the Stanley Cup Finals and the beginning of the next regular season, why not do that? That's what the thinking is. Now, he says that might not be possible. It might not be the case, but we'd hate to be in a situation where 5 months from now, we're doing pretty good for some reason. Like things have turned around suddenly, and that was the thinking that he says. That's why he believes beyond there are people, and definitely Gary Bettman is leading the charge, because he does pay a lot of attention. Bettman's job is to pay attention to other leagues. He does think about that all the time. The NFL draft went well. That did matter to Bettman, of course, because he does. When you go into his office, I've been in his office, he has like the NFL, his television, the NFL network, the NBA network, and the MLB network in his office. He is watching what's happening in the other leagues a lot. And the NFL draft is a totally different animal, like we said, but the publicity and everything like that, he believes the NHL draft could bring some casual fans into the game.
I agree with that. I felt that all along.
Yeah.
But Pete, what do you think about that situation?
It's going to be intriguing about if the draft comes in June. Would we be able to sign this year's draftees and play when play resumes to finish out 1920?
That would
I'd say no.
Seems like no. But like I said, and I haven't been able to. It's funny because they know. Believe me, the people in the NHL are sick of me talking about this, and they say, "Oh, you're just selfish." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I want to talk about trades." But
it's not going to happen. I mean,
no, I would love, Mike, before you say it's not going to happen,
I would love for it to happen.
Let me tell you what they're telling me, okay? Because I mean, so I sit there and I say, tell me for sure. I said, just tell me for sure that there's no way this could happen. Because I said, I'll drop it. I'll drop it completely. But I said, tell me there's a reason why you can't have trades at the draft that affect this year, because teams need. The trade deadline in real terms was back at the end of February, but in actual NHL timeline was 2 weeks ago, essentially, because we ended up playing 2 weeks after the trade deadline.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, why can't you just say, okay, opening that up, you're giving teams, because of the big, massive change in the salary cap next year, teams need to use the draft to adjust things. There's just adjustments that have to be made with trades. That's what the draft does. And because of the coronavirus, we know that the salary cap's not going up. The draft is a perfect opportunity for teams to utilize this and allow these changes to happen. So why can't you make these trades just effective immediately? I know everything's crazy. I know it's ridiculous, but and I've said, please just tell me there's no way this can happen. And I've said, because I want to stop talking about it. And and two people very high up, there is no way that could happen.
Well, they're not. The NHL. The NHL is not closing themselves to the possibility of anything right now. So that sort of goes hand in hand with what those people told you. But
that's an easy thing for them to close the possibility. Mike,
I know, but they're not closing anything.
Why keep that open at all?
Why? We're talking about it. That's why. Because it generates discussion. That's why. Right. Now the thing is, I think the big motivation for most of these teams and for the NHL in terms of having the draft in June has nothing to do with popularity of and content for. I think it has to do in terms of contracts for their
contracts, definitely.
Yeah, because they end up on June 30th. They don't want to expand those contracts for another year or even for a couple months. They want to be free to move and make changes in the organization. So I think that's the overriding factor. I'm for it because I'm bored out of my friggin' mind.
Obviously, it would be fun. It would be fun. There's no question about it, right?
But there's not
to talk about between now and the draft.
And,
that would be great.
I'll give you one factor.
There's not going to be trades, Zach. You know
I'll give you one factor here that will override the whole
I
trade.
want to know there's not. I want to. I believe
Okay.
you. I want to stop talking about this.
Let me just say this. You were right to say, okay, like we're operating on May 11th as if it was March the 11th because it's 2 weeks after the trade deadline. The problem is that the last 3 weeks of the regular season is going to be eliminated because they're not going to play regular season games. They're going to go right to the playoffs. So the 3 weeks of the regular season that these players would normally play in, they're gone. And that means that trades at the draft would mean rental deals with these players play no regular season games and go into the playoffs. That is a bastardization of the trade deadline.
We're going to get to that because I really want Pete's opinion on that thing we fought about last week really badly. But I'll get to that, Pete. But let's start with this concept. What do you think about this whole? I mean, the whole thing. Obviously, the NHL draft. But what would your also feeling about being opening up the trade deadline?
I have no problem with that because I think this is I hope, once in a lifetime thing.
Correct.
And we need to do something to get some sort of action going. And this, I think, we can do without, putting into danger anybody's health.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't because all these teams are going to be quarantined. If you get traded, you're not to move you're not even moving your family. It's not like you're suddenly moving your family or anything. That, you're going to be quarantined in a hotel. It's a matter of, what floor you're going to be on with your team or not,
Right. There's a young lady who worked at the Predators in video production who's been hired on by Microsoft, and she's waiting for the go-ahead to move because Washington State is a little bit dicey to go into right now.
That's one of the first places that had craziness. Yeah. So,
just want to interrupt this for a sec because Russ has some breaking news, and then we'll go back to it. But go ahead.
Yeah. So we saw Elliot Friedman posted that Michael Fuda is going to be leaving the Kings, and he's been overdue for being able to get a GM job somewhere. So clearly he is going to start interviewing. Now I'm not going to really speculate where he might go because every team has a GM except the Devils are the only ones that have an interim. But it doesn't mean he'd be going there.
And he's a good one.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he's going there, but I'm saying because food is out there, some team could change their mind about who they have, who they, would like to get in the future. So, but the name that I'm hearing that will take over the job potentially is Nelson Emerson, who was promoted a couple of years ago to director of player personnel. And that's the name I've heard. So I want to put that out there that so far that's the one I'm hearing. Like Elliot said, Mark Yannetti will run the draft. Mark Yannetti's great. Like he's one of the great hockey minds out there. I've talked to him regularly. I mean, he never astounds me with his knowledge of prospects and the draft. So the Kings are in great shape as far as the draft. There's no worry there if you're a Kings fan.
My speculation on this, Russ, is that the timing is so strange because, leaving a team right now, anybody making career moves right now.
I'll tell you the only reason I think that's possible that went into the thinking, and I don't know, I haven't spoken to Mike in a while.
Yeah.
My thinking is they have Mark Yannetti who can run the draft.
Right.
So if there is a lead on a job, they don't necessarily need him for the actual running of the draft that day at the table, that moment. This is something Yannetti has been working towards for years. And so I think that's why it's a unique situation where in other teams it would probably not happen this way.
Well, let me just say this because we've seen this happen in the NHL where a current general manager like George McPhee in Vegas moves up to team president to make space for somebody as general manager, which he did with Kelly McCrimmon. That's possible where Fuda maybe is touch base with somebody and he could move into a GM spot with another team. I'll do some rampant speculation here. Fuda's name was mentioned a couple years ago when the Buffalo Sabres were searching for a general manager. Jason Botterill won the job. Jason Botterill, before the league paused, there was a lot of speculation that Botterill was in deep trouble. I personally think that he's still in deep trouble, based on where the Sabres were. I don't think that they would be one of the 24 teams making the playoffs. I don't think their record was good enough. I wouldn't doubt that Fuda, if they do fire Botterill, would be a leading candidate for the Sabres GM job.
Yeah, I would say this. I know Mike is Canadian, and I've always had the feeling he would go back to Canada at some point. That's all I know.
And Buffalo is as close to Canada as you can get for the U.S.
Yeah. I mean, I would also look towards Seattle a little bit.
Well, Francis is the GM.
I know he's the GM there. I know Francis. I know obviously Francis is the GM there. But if Fuda, I've just heard connections with Seattle and him a couple times, and I don't know what that would mean. Like, it's interesting. There's only one team. Like I think Bill Zito on the Blue Jackets is the only associate GM that we have in the league right now. Like we have the first.
Yes, as that actual title. Yeah.
But that would pretty much, and Pete, that would pretty much be a lateral move if he went from assistant GM and head of personnel in the Kings someplace else.
Yeah, but if he doesn't have he isn't a pro job yet, or like a full-time job yet, though. That
leaving the Kings.
I'm just saying Fuda is definitely the kind of guy who loves challenges, and working on an expansion team is something guys like to do. Like that is a real. When you get the opportunity to do that, that's not really a lateral move to be like an assistant GM of a regular NHL team to an assistant GM of an expansion team, because that gives you a lot.
I would be surprised because I'm pretty sure he wants an actual GM tag at this point.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, eminently qualified.
Yeah.
To be the guy heading up a franchise. Now, where is ownership dissatisfied? And I guess that's where we have to start our speculation.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think that he's been there, and he's been in LA for a very long time. It could be, he just could be, I don't know. I mean, I think the only GM job is perhaps Fitzgerald's job in New Jersey, although they're already interviewing coaches, which makes me wonder, that Fitzgerald is safe, although he hasn't gotten, I mean, there's so many different stories going on there that I've heard.
He could be as safe as June 30th.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard, like I said, I heard people who were originally targeted to apply for that job who've just been told that, we'll talk about the GM job. They stay on hold. So no one has been Fitzgerald has not been given that job for sure. Right. But they also haven't set up the interviews for the other possible GMs. So, and they've already interviewed coaches, which maybe, I mean, I guess, you could sit there and say, the Gallant is a kind of a unique case. If you can get Gallant, you get Gallant. But I think that it could be Fuda's just, I mean, if you've been assistant GM for such a long time in one city and if Seattle comes and says, hey, you want to help us build this team, I would do it if I was him. I mean, it's not really a lateral move. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Zach, and I'm not ruling that out as a possibility, but he has been rumored to be a candidate for a GM for so long.
Oh, for sure. But there's a lot of guys like that, though. Right.
That if he would be perceived by many as a lateral move. I think he sort of pigeonholes himself into being that assistant GM for the rest of his career. I think
we're forgetting. Yeah. I think we're forgetting. John Stevens was a Kings coach.
Yeah.
So clearly, it could be if they're interviewing John, that his name may come up too.
Yes.
Yeah. No, there's no question about that. He's a good, and there's a lot of good candidates. I mean, and there's other teams. The season's going to be over, and like Mike said, there's the disappointment in Buffalo, there's disappointment in San Jose, there's disappointment in different places. Not that I think Doug Wilson is safe, but I'm just saying that there's.
Right, but Doug Wilson could move up to like VP of hockey operations or team president, and they create a spot.
At the end of the day, we're going to see other things like this happen. It already happened in the NBA.
Yeah,
we're going to see it happen because of these June 30th expirations. These things are going to happen, and then there's going to be a season, and there's just not going to be a GM or a few GMs that may not,
That I think is another reason to hold the draft in June. That like you've talked about, Russ, before, is the June 30th expirations. Which
you have the brain trust there who have been putting all the information together, then execute.
Right, precisely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, the announcement came out this morning about the American Hockey League shutting down their 2019-20 season and the Calder Cup playoffs. Not a big surprise, Pete. Russ and I were talking when we were sort of planning with that for the show today was the fact that, I don't think this has any effect on the NHL and their decision making, but the one thing it will have an effect on is the fact that the taxi squad that teams are going to have to carry for the playoffs, it's going to be immense compared to what it normally is, because usually some of these teams are active in the Calder Cup playoffs, and now you have to plan on not only injuries from players being shut down for so long, but if they get infected with the coronavirus. So yes. I think they're going to have these teams. They usually have a 23-man roster. And they're probably going to have to carry, I would say, 30 to 35 players.
Yeah, one time in the playoffs a few years ago, I convinced our people when I was doing television, when we were doing the scratches, thanks to the Black Aces, to scroll them up like Star Wars, because that's how many names there were on there.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably going to be much more selective about that now.
Yeah, I wonder what the rules are going to be like too. There's going to have to be some sort of rule put into place on what you can have.
Like you probably could only scratch like 12 players or something.
Well, it's probably, I bet you it'd be broken down. I bet you it'd be broken down by position. I would think like, okay, 2 goaltenders, 5 defensemen, and 7 forwards or something like that.
If they're smart, they let every team carry 3 goalies. Just let them carry 3.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that they at least have to do that. There's no question about that.
I think there's no question you have to do that now, only because if a goalie were to get the virus, you don't want to put in you don't want to be put in a situation where then the backup gets hurt, and the only reason you've got now the emergency goalie in there is because of this. They could have the foresight now to make it a 3 goalie roster. They should do it.
Hey, it worked for David Ayers.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I think
He's a legend.
If I'm Carolina, I'm bringing him on. No, I think the 4. I think even 4 goalies. Honestly, I mean, to be honest, it's like, because when you look at it, if you're going through this playoff run, if we're trying to do this in the world of viruses, you lose 1 goalie, then you still need 3. You still need guys are going to get hurt. I mean, it's like it's not just the virus, right? So there's other situations that are out there too.
Sure.
Just imagine how many hamstring pulls we're going to have with these.
Oh yeah, guys are going to get hurt the minute they hit the ice. I mean.
Oh yeah, for sure.
More groin pulls and hamstring pulls, I think, Mike.
For sure. Hey, Jan.
Yeah, groin pulls is what I'll have.
Sure, no question about it. I did want to get Pete's opinion really quickly on the concept I threw out last week, and you guys already fought me on this, so just stay out. But I don't because I don't want
that's no fun.
I don't want to take out the rest of the show. I'll give you a chance. All right, but so I threw out last week. So my opinion, and I'm usually the most optimistic person in the room, but I think that with the virus going on the way it's going on, I think that we are kidding ourselves if we think we can put together 3 months of this. Like if we can put together 3 months of hockey right now. My thinking is because of the craziness, because of the strange situation. I'm a fan of the PK Subban concept that he put throughout there already of the tournament, of 31 team tournament, single elimination tournament. And because that can get done in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and would create a lot of excitement for the league, a lot of excitement around the sports world in general, and it would just be like an acceptance of like we can actually do this without having to worry about. I know everybody's angry at me for this because the NHL, the actual hockey people are mad, but I know you've been involved in the marketing feed of this league for a long time. What are your thoughts on that? If we did that, if we came down to that.
The only thing I would really like to finish out the regular season so we can see if the Detroit Red Wings are as historically bad as we think they are, so they can have that all-time goals for, goals against differential to the minus side record. And that's not a slam at Detroit, but it's I keep hearing people talk about that. I agree it's going to be very difficult. And I'm skeptical with all the various health agency reports coming in. If we can go 3 months without having a relapse, what would this be like if we got started and right in the middle of it? Let's just say, for the sake of timing, we get to the final and we got to shut down again.
Yeah, that's my thinking. Because you can plan a month out maybe because you sort of see where things are going. You can't plan 3 months out, I think. And I'm along those lines too. And I really think as much as this would bastardize the playoffs, as much as this would whatever people would say, NHL purists, and I get all that because I'm a purist and do it hard. But I just think that the NHL's best opportunity to get the most bang for the buck out of what they have left with this year is to do this.
Well, that's why you start in July and August. And if you have to pause, in your example for the Stanley Cup final, you and say all of a sudden the Toronto Maple Leafs make the final. And then Austin Matthews and John Tavares and Mitch Marner are tested positive. Then you pause, wait until they're 100%, and then you play the final. You have the time, you have the window. Then
we all woke up.
Well, Pete, what are your thoughts? When you get Pete's thoughts?
I'd like to see how long we'd have to wait for everybody to get medical clearance after that.
Yeah, right. To get started up again seems unlikely.
I mean, So then 2 teams would have
Right.
10 days of training camp to build themselves back up.
Yeah, right. Another situation like that again, and you can just put these teams. I wrote a blog about it. You can put 8 teams in 4 cities, and have like Olympic Village type things for 1 week, and you could get down to 4 teams really fast.
Well,
and are we going to have, because of the border situation, are we going to have maybe all 7 Canadian teams on one side?
No, I think everybody's going to be in the U.S. That's what I think.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about that, but the thing is though, I agree, but it sounds like they're still sticking with that 4 neutral site situation, and Toronto seems to be setting themselves up to be one of them, because already like MLS&E is coming out and saying that they can provide testing for not only all the teams but for the people who were like 5 times more people than the hockey players and the staff and everything like so. And all of a sudden in the last 2 or 3 days, the province of Ontario has opened themselves up to professional teams being able to practice well before anybody else has.
Doesn't make it right.
Right. Exactly.
So we'll all go there, and Brendan Shanahan can give us our test.
Yeah, right. But Pete, I want to get your opinion on first of all, like Mike's afraid because he thinks this is the one year the Maple Leafs will win the cup, and everybody will say it's not legitimate, which I understand. That living with that kind of fear is scary.
I recognize the San Antonio Spurs championship after the season was shortened.
Right. I think that kind of. What do you think? Your thoughts is you've been in the.
But that was a full playoffs.
Pete,
it was.
How do you think this would go off in the regular sports world? How do you think it would play out?
I think people are so hungry for any sort of, and I hate to use this word now because it's all encompassing, but any sort of content that they would go crazy for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely go crazy for it.
If I had $1, Pete, for every time I heard the '95 Devils didn't win a real Stanley Cup, they won because it was a short.
They only talked about it, and nobody really put that into application, Mike. I never heard one person tell me that since 1995.
Don't we feel?
It's been referred to as a strike.
Feel that this year in general, people are willing to forgive. I mean, that kind of crap. I mean, right now, just to get exciting out there, because otherwise you're gonna. My fear is otherwise we're gonna end up with nothing. We're gonna end up like the AHL. We're just gonna have to cancel it.
First, let Jan talk, because Jan.
Yeah. So my viewpoint is your comparisons to 95 and 99 are apt to a certain extent. People still refer to it as a strike-shortened season, right? They'll still refer to it. Your playoffs were not impacted. There's the big difference. You're talking about modifying the playoff system. That's the consternation we have here. Right?
Yeah.
Not the regular season ending where it is. We're talking about a single elimination tournament to decide a Stanley Cup champion. And I understand the need to have a final result, but I think you're modifying something so significantly that it's going to be viewed as with an asterisk, and every other term you want to use, not viewed as a fair arbiter of who won the Stanley Cup that year.
I'll pretend I'm Dean Warmer here. It's almost like a double secret Stanley Cup championship. It's not. It wouldn't be a real one if you're playing best of 3, best of 5 instead of best of 7 to shorten things up. Fine. But
how bad does the world have to get before you stop thinking that way? Like that's my feel. That's my feeling.
I'll never stop thinking that way.
No, how bad does that get before you're worried about asterisks? I mean, it's like to me, there's like a spot at which asterisks don't really matter.
I'm not worried about asterisks. I'm worried about this is going to stink. I know people are desperate for it. It doesn't mean it's good.
Would you not be excited that the Red Wings, this horrible Red Wings team?
No, I would not be excited. They don't deserve it.
They're taking on Ovechkin in the Capitol.
They don't deserve it.
I'll use this I'll use a movie example here.
Okay.
I was excited to see the movie Pearl Harbor until I actually saw it, and then I realized it sucked.
Yep.
This will suck.
Every game's a game 7. Every game's a game 7. This would not suck.
I think 2 days into this, the media would be killing this the way this is. And the first upset would be the lead on every news. Like, look at this team. This team won 30 games during the regular season. Actually, they didn't even win 30. They won 15 games in the regular season. Now they're on the road to the Stanley Cup. And
it's Bucknell beating Duke. It's Bucknell beating Duke, basically, which is like everybody hates that when that happens, right? Everybody out there goes, oh, it's how horrible it was that Duke lost to Bucknell or Duke lost to Princeton or whatever. Everybody hates that, right? That's a terrible thing when that happens
Wait,
in the sports world.
the
In the sports
NCAA
world,
has been
people go
always set
freaking
up
away.
as a single
They love
elimination
it.
tournament.
Jan, go ahead.
The NCAA has always been set up as a single elimination tournament.
Yes, I
You're
know.
modifying something that's never been set up that way. And yeah,
You have no
I
choice.
if
You have no
Detroit
choice.
somehow gets
You
through it, will be
do.
the laughing
You
stock
don't.
of the
You think you
sports
do.
world.
You're kidding, right? I really
Bettman
can't help.
comes from the David Stern
All right.
school. He's
I
not
just
going
can't
to
help
do
but think
something so dissimilar to what Adam Silver does now. He just won't do it.
Right.
I want Pete. I know your opinions. I want Pete to have the same.
I
That
would
doesn't like
rather.
losing.
I would rather not do this, but I
Yeah.
could also call historically and go back to when we had 2-game total goal series. Not
Yeah.
that I was broadcasting then, but I was in college hockey when
Right.
we had that, and I remember Notre Dame really blowing a weekend series against the Wisconsin Badgers.
Wow.
But that was a long, long time ago. I don't know if people, if you're a Red Wing fan.
Yeah.
And you come out of this morass to win the cup, you are ecstatic.
Right.
Because you already got your pick.
Right.
Yes,
That's the other thing.
That's
You already
right.
got your draft pick.
Already got your draft pick.
Would be gravy.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah,
Do you think the Red Wings are going to win the Stanley Cup?
Let me ask Pete this, because Pete was broadcast. We've talked about the infamous Ranger Kings series from '79, the best of 3 series, and we in the late '70s and the early '80s there were a series of first round series that were best of 2 out of 3.
Right.
And Pete, I'm sure you remember there was a Buffalo-Pittsburgh series. I think it was the same
Yep.
year where Pittsburgh beat Buffalo in overtime in game.
George Ferguson, was it?
George Ferguson.
Yeah.
I have not heard like diehard old-time Sabre fans bitch more about playoff series when it was best of 3 because they were used to best of 5 and best of 7. It's going to be even worse if you have single elimination. Don't even bother playing.
You're going to be pissed off if it's your team that loses, but all 29 other teams are going to be absolutely ecstatic.
The guest we should get here is Chipper Jones. I went to his last game, as it turned out. Single elimination. Cardinals and the Braves at Old Turner Field in Atlanta, when one umpire decided the infield fly rule extended roughly 80 feet back into left field.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part of that upset of them. I mean, those sorts of things are all very possible if something like this were to happen.
Why don't we?
And your example,
they're all part of lore of these sports. They're incredible memories to everybody except the team that gets upset.
How about this?
That obviously is always going to be pissed off, but everybody else thinks it's the greatest thing ever.
Go ahead, Jan.
in Pete's example, that was a one-off event.
Yeah.
It wasn't the entire
it.
playoffs, right? Whoever
Right.
made it to the next round didn't have a single elimination tournament to get through the next round.
Correct.
That was the whole issue with the wild card now. It was, if you remember, there was a ton of consternation in baseball, and I understand them putting it in place. And yes, it has been excited. You're not deciding the entire playoffs on single elimination tournaments. You're having one round that's doing that.
Now, wait, hold on.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to tell you this. If you give Steve Yzerman the choice, your team can go in and try and win the Stanley Cup, or you could have the number one overall pick. He's going to take the pick.
Oh, yeah.
That's not. We're not giving that choice. They get the number one pick.
Of course, we're not giving that choice because nobody wants this.
They're the worst team in the league. They should get the number one pick. That's the reality of it. We all.
It may be.
If a team can't beat the worst team in the league in a single game, they don't deserve anything.
No, it may. Jeez.
That's the truth.
It may be.
Not true in this case.
It may be a combo.
It's the same game 7. See, the great thing. This is the thing about the playoffs that I love more than anything else, and this is what I would hate about this is there's the momentum swing of a playoff series is my favorite thing in the world. Like the way it plays out, like when sometimes the upset comes in game 1, and then now the pressure's all on the second team, or else they're going to go back to the other team's down 2-0, and then they come back. And I love all that the way the momentum and the pressure shifts from one thing to another. But when it gets down to the game 7, we're all like, oh, this is great. It doesn't matter anymore. Whoever wins this game goes on.
But part of the game 7 is the buildup of the first 6 games. You just can't
Oh, yeah.
go that. Oh my God! It's game 7.
We don't have time for that. We don't have the luxury of that.
Yes,
We're in a
we
pandemic.
do.
We're in a worldwide pandemic.
Well, see, I'm sorry.
Heck, you're never going to convince us. You can talk to your
Trying to
blue
at
in the
least
face.
convince
You're
Pete.
not
This is
convincing the three of us.
I'm desperate for someone.
It may be a combo of the two, because if there is a 2014 playoff format, what may happen here, because they're going to have to get down to 16 teams, it may be like top 8 versus bottom 8 in a single elimination, and then the first round will be best of 3 or best of 5. There's no way they're going to a NCAA tournament type format. It's not enough content for the rights holders.
I'm not saying that it is, and I'm not saying also that once we get to the Final Four, maybe we have some series. If the world is looking okay, we can sit there, we can make the call, like we can we're gonna, because that's what we're doing anyway, is making the call on everything that happens in life. So if we say, okay, things are okay now, we feel like we can go another week, we're gonna make these best of 3 or best of 5 or whatever we're gonna do, that's fine. But you can make that decision now on next week, but you can't make the decision now on 3 months from now. That's my thing. So to me, we're kidding ourselves by thinking we can predict what's going to happen 3 months from now. I want to see all these games played. I don't want this. I would never recommend this in any other situation, but this.
See, the one thing I'll say, and this is my personal belief, and I'll get everybody's thoughts.
Other than Pete's opinions.
Yeah, I want to get Pete first. Is I don't think, and I said this on Russ's Russ and I and Anthony do a podcast on the weekends. I said that if the leagues are going to shut down completely after one positive test, then don't even bother starting, because there are going to be positives. You have to be prepared to continue on even if somebody tests positive. It's a fait accompli. It's going to happen. If the NHL is like, okay, we're going to play single elimination games because we're afraid somebody's going to get positive, then don't even bother playing, because somebody is going to get positive.
Mike, along those lines, it's totally aside. I did hear a rumor today that it is possible that the NHL players could be forced to wear full face shields, aka like the shield to play in these games, and I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Not a bad idea.
I think that's something that should be.
But they have air holes.
They have air holes. They can breathe, but still, you're still like. I mean, obviously, you're not
a little more protected.
The players,
right?
But I'm saying that
we're going to suffocate them on the ice.
Right.
You have the chance of people like running into each other and sweat and all this crap.
Nobody can lick you.
Right. No one can lick you. And I think that
so it's the Marchand rule.
Right. It's the Marchand protection. Anyway, Pete, you can end this thing and tell me I'm crazy, and I will stop my campaign.
I don't say you're crazy. I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that.
None of us want to do it.
I would rather not have any single elimination and do 2 of 3 to get it started.
Okay.
And then continually, round by round, evaluate.
Yeah.
What do we think we can do further? Can the next round be 3 of 5?
Yeah, I'm game with that. I'm totally game with that.
But that's what we've been saying.
This versus.
That's what we've been saying the whole time.
No, you haven't been. This, because I'm still talking about all the teams in. I'm talking about you don't want all the teams in. I'm still talking about all the teams in this thing, okay? And I'm even in this, like one of the concepts I had a long time ago when I was just we were playing around about weird ways to change the league, is that you would have every team make the playoffs, but you would have a situation where if you were like so far apart, like a team would only have to win 2 of 7. Where the other team would have to win 4 of 7. So like if the first was playing 31, you'd have a 7 series. In this situation, the Red Wings would have to beat the Caps 4 times in 7 games, where the Caps could just beat the Red Wings twice in 7 games and eliminate.
No, that's ridiculous.
This is ridiculous.
That is. But I would say we like some sort of symmetry here. Do we bring in, let's say, the Milwaukee Admirals to be a 32nd team?
Right.
Yes, I like that.
Sure, Pete. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, with all the rendezvous stuff I've been watching lately, I want to just bring in Team Russia.
Are the Washington Generals available?
Red Klotz has passed away, so I don't know if they have leadership.
Okay. As I specified, we were going to talk about the best movies. We can, it's all personal opinion here, but I wanted to do it just before, like not just hockey, because Pete, we know what you're.
We know where you're going to go with that.
We know what you're going to go with.
Hockey. Pretty good idea.
Yeah, I think so. If you have a DVD in every room, I think that. But we'll start.
I have a VHS in one room.
We'll start with hockey, and we'll just go with you. It's like explain why your love for Slapshot.
Well, number one, I don't consider it fiction. I consider it a documentary.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the finest, and we'll use another hockey reference here. We always talk about fine films as being by Fellini. This one I dub by Foligno. I think this is in many ways, it is a Foligno movie. Slapshot And who did I hear from this week? Stevie Carlson, as Stevie got hospitalized for a bit with COVID-19 in Johnstown, and he has come up pretty well.
That's good.
Yeah, I saw somebody put like a rookie card with the 3 Hansen.
Yes.
That was hilarious with like the penalty minutes leaders for the FHL, and it had all 3 of them side by side. Russ, Slapshot is my favorite, and I think the best hockey movie. Do you concur, or is there another one?
No, I vacillate. I love Slapshot, but I'm going to go Miracle because when I got out of the screening for Miracle, and after talking to the guys and seeing how close they got it, even though we know the language was whitewashed, the movie was still spectacular. And so, for whatever reason, I feel like Miracle pushed the right buttons at the right time for me, so I'm going to go Miracle.
It did. Now, did you know I actually appeared? I had a voice role in the ABC movie Miracle on Ice.
Oh,
that
no.
came out in '81.
The Walden one?
With Carl Walden.
Bob Miller and I were in that because we were the only ones who could say Bilya Ledinoff.
that movie was awful.
It was.
Yeah.
Andrew Stevens is Mike
That's
Ruzzi.
great.
Okay.
That's great, though.
Jan,
Oh man.
do you have a best hockey movie?
I mean, obviously love Slapshot, love Miracle. One of the ones that I liked, probably just because I was a teenager, was Youngblood. It was just funny as heck to watch Youngblood when it came out. I mean, granted, the hockey wasn't anything particularly good, but I thought, just the story of the minor league hockey, I thought was a kind of interesting story.
You know what's great about that, Jan?
Associated with it.
What's great about
Cynthia
that?
Gibb was very good to look at. Yes, Mike. I know you're going there next. You don't have to say it. I see the look on your
I'm
face.
a big Cynthia Gibb fan. Sorry, but go ahead.
I know.
No,
That's
but
why I made the comment.
Yeah, no. The thing I love about Youngblood, and it's like there's the line in it where she says to him, "It's just a game, Dan. It's just a game." As in Youngblood is become like it is a motto that my wife and I have had for like 20 years around here. When I get mad about something in hockey, she'll go to me, "It's just a game, Dan. It's just a game," and it's the funniest thing. So it's like one of these that movie holds a special spot for me too.
We go back to the 30s, and there was a John Wayne hockey movie.
Russ,
I saw it, Pete.
Yep.
I reviewed it. It's awful.
Yes, it is awful.
Okay,
I love the crowds.
I'll go.
Are you Slapshot up?
No, I'm not. Well, I mean, I love Slapshot, but I'm going to give a different movie. I mean, Miracle is probably the one I've watched the most, definitely. But the one that I think needs credit that doesn't get it enough. There's 2, and I know you're supposed to only one, but one's a television show, so it's kind of different. So one's a movie, and that would be The Rocket. The movie The Rocket.
Yeah, that was good.
The Maurice Richard movie is just really, it's 2005. It's out there. You can check it. It's just really a great story and gives you an appreciation of like the Montreal Canadiens in general and what he meant to that team and what he meant to that city. It's an amazing movie. And I'm also something that I've been looking for all over the place on eBay. And if anybody can find this, let me know. Because I can't find it on YouTube. I can't find it anywhere. Is the documentary that Ken Dryden did called Ken Dryden the Game. The television documentary that was on the CBC.
Yeah.
It was really incredible. I mean, remember Ken Dryden the Game was a book, a very famous
that was a book.
best-selling book.
Great
He
book.
did like a 5-part miniseries, I think it was, on CBC.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was limited to just 5 parts.
And the first part of it was the first time we kind of got like that 24/7 hockey thing ever. The first part of it was like a Vancouver Canucks, Montreal Canadiens game where they went backstage and everything and did all this stuff. And it was this was ages ago, and I have not been able to find this thing anywhere.
In depth on Jyrki Lume.
Remember, that's exactly right.
Yep.
The irony is Lume played for both of their teams eventually.
Right.
But that was at that point he was, I think, with the Canucks, right? And he went in depth with him. It's so funny you remember that, Pete.
That's always what I wanted is an in-depth look at Jyrki Lume.
It's by far the most in-depth.
Jared and Yuri Slieger.
Yeah, no, that you'd be hard pressed to find more information on Jyrki Lume than you found in that hour of television.
Okay,
go ahead, Red.
Moving on.
Baseball, Russ.
All right, baseball's tough because I probably go between 2 movies. I'm going to go with The Natural because at the end of the day, Robert Redford's amazing in that movie. The Black Betsy, everybody still talks about. The light tower getting blown up, everybody still talks about. So I'm going to go with that one, but there's some really great ones.
Pete, that was, of course, filmed at the old War Memorial, and I have friends of my brother were extras in the stands for that one. And it's always had a place in my heart. That's one of my honorable mentions. But what is yours? And then I'll go.
I was there for the filming of that last scene, and that was like a 3 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Yes.
As we were going September to October, and I will never forget that. And I felt sorry for the people in the neighborhood with those fireworks going off probably 5 or 6 times as the ball hit the light standard there. And as a matter of fact, those were probably the brightest those lights ever shone. And whatever game I was in at that place. But yes, I'm very partial to that movie. But I also have a dark horse here.
Okay.
And it was young Robert De Niro in Bang the Drum Slowly.
Yeah,
Michael Moriarty is
the story.
Yep.
I do like that one a lot.
The Natural is one of my honorable mentions. Moneyball is, even though it's it's about the machinations. I love Major League as a comedy, but my favorite is 8 Men Out.
That's the other one I love.
Yeah, on the Elliot Asimov book about the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Fantastic movie with a great cast.
Filmed in Old Bush Stadium, Indianapolis, on West 16th Street.
Go ahead, Jan.
Jan, go ahead.
So I love all those movies, and they're definitely top list. The two for me, though, is Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
And the scene where he has the cat, which his father is just a
that's
scene, an unbelievable scene. And then talking about minor leagues, I mean, you have Bull Durham. I mean, clearly an epitome. I mean, with Ron Shelton having played in the minors and playing for Baltimore, right? He had the understanding of what the minor leagues were like, and the way he portrayed it, it was just so accurate from all the stories you hear. Right? It's a very apt portrayal in terms of what the minor leagues are like. And first of all, I mean, look, Kevin Costner was great in all those movies. Yeah, he was especially very good in that one.
Yeah,
I liked Amy Madigan in that simply because I used to listen to her dad be the political reporter for WBBM News Radio 78.
Okay,
excellent.
And Mrs. Ed Harris, by the way. So
yes,
go ahead.
And for as much as you don't agree with anything I ever say, I have to say you took my 2 movies. But yeah, those are
everything.
Those are the 2 movies that I think are. But no, I'm also going to add my secret movie that you shouldn't like is Angels in the Outfield.
Oh God!
I actually like it. I don't know
which
one. The first one. Yeah.
Okay.
The old one. The old one.
I think the best movie ever made, and I really think is A League of Their Own. I think it's
a really good movie.
I think that as far as just movies go, I mean, that's a movie you can still watch. We watched it the other day here. It's just a great.
We just watched one of them last night. At 101 years of age.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just.
Choose the last rock for Peach.
Such a great.
I mean, there's one more I'd add to the list is Sandlot, which I thought was a great movie.
Sure, but we got to go to the next movies. Come on, we can't.
I like Sandlot. Yeah,
we'll just go quickly here.
Okay, the worst one, the worst baseball movie.
Go ahead.
The William Bendix Babe Ruth film.
I'm going to go John Goodman's Babe as well.
John Goodman, the Babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was far better than William Bendix. Sorry.
Yeah. He had to get shoulder surgery after that. Anyhow.
Football. I'll go first. Honorable mention is the original Longest Yard. The best football movie for me is North Dallas 40. Made in the late 70s with Nick Nolte and Mac Davis. It was a book by Peter Gent. It was clearly about the Dallas Cowboys, and it was really a great movie. Pete, you go ahead. Best football movie?
My favorite one is I Am Third, the Brian Piccolo, Gale Sayers. And I prefer the first one. That was a made for ABC.
Yeah, that was the best.
The second made for ABC.
Was it the James Caan, Billy D. Williams one? Or
Billy D. Williams was at the same time trying to tell us that a woman will do anything for a Colt 45.
Russ?
Oh my gosh.
I'm still, this is a tough one because I really do like 2 of them. I'm going to still go the original Longest Yard because at the end of the day, I could watch that all day long. The Adam Sandler thing, I never watched. There's so many lines you could talk about from that movie.
Football?
It's very simple. There's 3. It's just 3 simple words. Heaven Can Wait. Come on, that's the best.
Great movie.
Very good. That's
great movie.
When you got butlers trying to run pass patterns, you can't beat that.
That was awesome. Heaven Can Wait.
Jan?
I mean, obviously Longest Yard, but Brian's Song also.
Brian's Song.
Yeah.
Okay. Basketball. I'll go Hoosiers.
Oh, that kind of goes into my bailiwick here because I love Hoosiers, obviously, and Rudy. Same people making those 2 movies. But the best story, I think, was Glory Road about the first black
Texas
team,
Western.
all-black team to win the NCAA.
Yeah, with Josh Lucas.
And Ralph Strangis.
Oh, okay. Russ, do you have a basketball?
Yeah, one-on-one with Robbie Benson. That one was really, to me, it was great. It really showed what college basketball was like, and I thought he did a good job.
Jan, do you have a basketball?
Well, I guess we can't pick the fish that saved Pittsburgh, right? Oh, that would be the worst.
This is best.
There were some stars in that.
One-on-one with Robbie Benson and Annette O'Toole was a great movie.
Anything with Annette O'Toole is a great movie. I'm partial.
I got mine.
Those are the
Go ahead,
ones from Mike so far.
Gabe Cotter in Fast Break. Come on. Remember this one?
I remember
Gabe Kaplan.
Gabe Cotter. Welcome back, right? Welcome back, Cotter. Gabe Kaplan.
We are sending people to YouTube today. I'll tell you that much.
That's like amazing movie, like where Gabe Kaplan plays a coach of like an inner city team or something like that.
Yeah, it was completely unbelievable.
At Cat Wallader? Was it at Cat Wallader?
Cat Wallader University. Yeah.
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 Because of a pool game.
I'll give you the rest of mine, and if you have one in the
movie, but yeah, it had all kinds of things in it. If you watch it now, it doesn't hold up very well.
I'll give you the rest of the categories I had, and if you have one in that category, just speak up. Soccer. There was a documentary made in the early '80s about the World Cup called Goal. It was narrated by Sean Connery. It was fantastic. It was about the '82 World Cup. It was fantastic.
I have one.
The last one.
I have a soccer one. Bend it like Beckham is.
I knew you were going to say that one. Mine is Victory.
That's the one for me too.
With Sly Stallone,
Sylvester Stallone,
and Pele and Michael. In horse racing, I say Seabiscuit.
Me too.
Yeah, I would say that.
Fantastic movie.
Stripes.
When you saw people standing up in the theater, cheering in that match race, that tells how it affected people.
I'm going to go with Stripes. It's a movie. It's an animated movie. It's animated for kids. Stripes is about a zebra that becomes a horse that enters the Kentucky Derby. And
you've been watching too many kid movies. Then.
No, but it's actually a lot of fun. It's actually one of these like lesser known Pixar type things, but it's called Stripes.
Okay, it's in boxing. It's either one or the other. Everybody's either Raging Bull or Rocky. I would probably opt for Raging Bull over Rocky because De Niro was incredible. I think Stallone was incredible in Rocky. My honorable mention is Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe as
the movie.
Jim Braddock. He was great in that movie.
That gave me a great talk show interview one day.
Who did?
Cinderella Man.
Yeah,
I interviewed Max Baird Jr., Jethro Bodine, as we all know him, because in that movie, Opie produces a film that makes his father, Max Baird Sr., look like the ultimate black hat.
Yes.
So I just asked Max Baird one question, and I could have gotten up and walked away for half an hour as he went on and on and on about that.
That was my dad's one of his favorite boxers was Max Baird.
He was really pissed off at the portrayal of his dad because his dad was portrayed as an a-hole, and he wasn't that at all.
No.
Okay, quick.
I want to say for boxing, Mike.
Yep.
The reason I go Raging Bull is because I actually met Jake LaMotta, interviewed him, and
Vicky.
Really, De Niro was really him. It really was very well played.
Golf, I will go with Caddyshack, of course.
Yeah, there's no question.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty. Or Happy Gilmore is pretty.
Not the Legend of Beggar Vance.
No, that was my worst. That was
Happy Gilmore is a pretty good movie.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore was great on Sabres bus rides. Sabres and Ameryk's bus rides.
Really? Yeah. Okay. There you go.
And there have been many running movies, but I love Chariots of Fire. It is an incredible movie that people have made fun of the fact that it won Best Picture. And if you watch that movie, it's a great.
I like the one about Prefontaine better. Whatever that was.
Which one? The Without Limits with Billy Crudup.
Steve Zeft, or
there were two Prefontaine movies made at the same time.
Right.
Without Limits with Billy Crudup and Donald Sutherland, and then the other one was a Jared Leto movie.
Yeah, no, it was the one with Sutherland.
Yeah, it was Pete. It's like, remember when the 500th anniversary of Christopher Columbus came up in 1992? Yeah. They made 3 Columbus movies at the same time.
Yeah.
Why do they make the same movie? Like the studios are competing to get out their Columbus movie before the other one.
Honorable mention to the series Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
No, but we're not even bringing up.
No, that series is really, it's really entertaining. It's really good.
Wasn't there a wrestling movie with Henry Winkler?
Oh yeah.
It's a good binge thing though. It's it's very binge worthy. Glow.
It is binge-worthy. I agree.
The wrestler itself.
No, that was a good movie.
Incredible. That was incredible. Now, what was the running movie that starred from Rich Man, Poor Man, Peter Strauss?
Oh, a Jericho Mile.
Oh yeah,
the Jericho Mile, and it was directed by Michael Mann, the director of Miami Vice and a number of different great movies like The Insider and Ali, and that was one of his first movies.
I still have two more sports.
Go ahead.
So Skating, Blades of Glory with John Heder and Will Ferrell. That's great.
Come on, it's gotta be the Robbie Benson, Lynn Holly Johnson.
No. But that one's really fun.
It's hailing here. If you hear that sound, it's hailing over here. Someone just like
Cutting Edge.
And then Bowling is Kingpin.
What about Cutting Edge?
Cutting Edge, yeah.
Moira Kelly.
And Kingpin for bowling. Like nobody could top that.
Nope.
Right. There we go. That was a fun show, guys. Thank you so much, Pete, for joining us as always.
You're welcome.
And not keeping down my concept, which I'm sure makes everybody angry.
But folks, when you look up Glory Road, be on the lookout for Dallas Stars ex-announcer Ralph Strangis as doing the play-by-play for the championship game.
Yeah, Pete, thanks. You've relegated us to have to listen to X Theory for the next week and a half.
Well, if I come back, will that happen again?
Yeah, we'll invite you back next week.
I have to talk to some intelligent people once in a while, Pete. So I just had to get that from you.
You guys, I appreciate it. And Jan, I hope you return to Earth here shortly.
I'm good.
The floating head.
I'm good.
Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. Have a great Monday.